Not every hunt by venomous snakes is aimed at other species. Sometimes what appears before their venomous fangs is a predator as dangerous as themselves. A moment of confrontation, a lightning-fast strike, and the encounter quickly turns into a deadly scene. When predatory instinct and the competition for survival intersect, what happens next often goes far beyond what many think is possible in nature. Welcome to the land of reptiles, where brutal hunts and acts of cannibalism by venomous snakes have been recorded. Snake versus gecko. The match between the gecko and the snake is one of the most brain-stretching confrontations in the small reptile world. The gecko is not an easily bullied victim. It is a true war god with extremely bizarre characteristics. The snake approaches, utilizing its flexible body to launch a lightning-fast strike. But the gecko does not falter at all. It has the ability to endure venom much better than many small mammals. The pincer-like toe structure helps it cling tightly to dry branches, holding its position firmly against the attacks. The pace slows down. The snake temporarily stops attacking. In this battle, the one with venomous fangs is not always the winner. Mangrove snake versus bird. On a high tree branch, the small bird is calmly preening its feathers, completely unaware that a ghost is closing in. A mangrove snake, the night assassin of the mangrove forest, is starting a daytime hunt. The forked tongue of the mangrove snake acts like a biological radar, helping it sense the presence of prey without needing to look directly. In nature, birds are the favorite dish making up the majority of the mangrove snake's menu. It evolved to become an expert at hunting birds on high branches, close to the water surface. Its slender but extremely muscular body helps it balance perfectly on the smallest tree branches to approach the bird's nest without making a sound. The speed of the attack far exceeds the reaction capability of bird species. Although a mildly venomous species with small prey like this, the bite force and precision of the mangrove snake are enough to decide the outcome. It causes the bird's respiratory system to collapse in just a few minutes, turning an agile creature into a motionless mass of meat. A harsh survival cycle has just ended on the tree canopy. Death adder versus lizard. Amidst the arid desert region, a death adder snake is patiently hiding itself. The rough scales bearing the color of sand and dry leaves help it camouflage perfectly under the grass bush. Motionless and silent, the death adder waits for the prey to step forward itself. Not far away, a lizard moves across the rocks to search for food. The death adder still lies still. The lizard is immediately attracted. The death adder's tail begins to move. The dark-colored tail tip wiggles, looking exactly like a plump grub twisting its body. Blinded by the fake prey, the lizard slowly approaches without knowing a trap has already been set. Right in a split second, the death adder launches a fatal strike. The lightning-fast bite locks the victim tight. Amidst the harsh environment, patience and deceptive tactics have brought in a perfect meal. Grass snake versus frog. Thanks to a flexible, elongated body, the grass snake glides underwater easily. They are excellent swimmers, often scouring the banks to look for amphibians. A brown frog appears in the crosshairs. Instinctively, it hurriedly shrinks into the mud layer. And an agile jump helped it narrowly escape death. But vision is not the snake's only weapon. It continuously darts its forked tongue to collect scent molecules, sending them into the Jacobson's organ on the palate, a perfect biological radar. Chemical signals guide the predator weaving through the dense tree root layer to the exact location of the prey. And this time, there is no more luck. The grass snake is completely non-venomous. It hunts by swallowing alive. So frogs are exactly the favorite dish of these underwater hunters. Mussurana versus lizard. Amidst the arid rocky ground, a Mussurana snake is patiently digging. It continuously slithers deep into the underground tunnel, using its body to push each layer of rock and dirt out. The special skull structure allows it to turn its head into a natural shovel, breaking the safe hiding rule of underground creatures. Observe how it persistently pushes aside each layer of arid rock and dirt. This is a tactic that consumes a lot of energy, but brings an extremely worthy survival reward. Despite the victim's desperate, struggling efforts, superior muscular strength helps the snake easily drag the defeated one out of its final refuge. Although the Mussurana's venom is almost harmless to humans, to reptiles, or small animals, this is an extremely treacherous weapon, quickly collapsing the nervous system and paralyzing all muscles. Sidewinder rattlesnake versus lizard. On the fiery sand dunes, sidewinder rattlesnakes slither sideways skillfully. By letting only two small parts of their body touch the ground at the same time, they minimize heat absorption from the environment. Lizards also have their own way to dissipate heat. Lifting each pair of legs alternately helps them avoid getting burned. This is the fastest snake species on sand, but compared to the lizard's speed, they are far inferior. Accepting the speed disadvantage, the sidewinder snake switches to ambushing. The lizard will carelessly crawl across a sand dune without knowing death is lying right under its feet. The sidewinder's bite only takes about 0.1 to 0.2 seconds to complete. It is more than twice as fast as the blinking speed of a normal person. The venom-destroying blood vessels will end the life of the unlucky one. Here, speed on the sand is exactly what dictates life and death. Pit viper versus gecko. A pit viper lies neatly on a tree branch, followed by a bite tearing through the night, snapping the prey tight in just a blink of an eye. Despite the victim struggling, the hunter still maintains the initiative. The pit viper possesses hollow fangs pumping tissue-destroying venom directly into the opponent's body. To swallow it down, the pit viper secretes a large amount of thick saliva, acting as a high-dose lubricant. This helps the gecko's rough armor slide easily in the snake's narrow esophagus without scratching the soft tissues. The hunt closes. The snake carefully checks the surrounding environment. With its bulging belly carrying the prize, it slowly slithers along the tree branch, hiding in the dense darkness. Cobra versus toad. What will happen when a silent predator enters a human living area? But the cobra's prey today is actually not a human. The cobra accidentally spots a frog that just dashed past its vision. In a split second, the prey realizes the close quarters danger, continuously making lightning-fast jumps to flee from the hunter. Although vision is not the only tool, the snake's forked tongue, an extremely sophisticated chemical sensor, allows it to see the world through scent, easily tracking down victims even when obscured. No matter how ingenious the frog's camouflage ability is, every jumping and landing rhythm leaves a trail of mucus from its skin. Hiding behind an old tarpaulin, the frog thought it was safe. However, every smallest vibration rhythm transmitting through the ground is fully captured by the sensor system under the snake's belly. Black mamba versus mouse. On a dry tree branch, a small mouse is foraging for food without knowing danger is waiting right below. Sensing the unease, it hurriedly looks for refuge under a dark earth hollow. The predator slowly slithers inside the dark burrow. The cramped space does not pose a difficulty to its slender, long body. Amidst the darkness, the snake closes in on where the mouse is hiding. The silent moment is broken. The predator launches a fatal strike with lightning speed, embedding its teeth tightly into the prey. The venom of the black mamba is primarily dendrotoxin. The mouse will be completely paralyzed and stop breathing after just a few dozen seconds. Due to its high metabolic rate, the mamba swallowing a mouse only takes about 30 seconds to 1 minute, faster than any snake species of the same size. Owl versus snake. On the green moss-covered log, a tense confrontation takes place. The leg force of large owl species can reach 300 to 500 pounds per square inch. The owl does not use its beak to kill the snake immediately. It uses its extremely strong talons to pin the snake's head tight. This squeezing force is strong enough to crush the spine or damage the snake's internal organs in just one grip, making the snake instantly paralyzed and unable to coil its body to retaliate. The snake is completely paralyzed. The owl uses its beak force to tear the solid scale layer. The meal happens swiftly. While chewing and swallowing, the large eyes of the bird of prey continuously dart around, maintaining high vigilance to prevent other threats. Under the decaying foliage, the survival closes. In the fierce natural world, the faster and more accurate one will claim the right to survive. Hawk versus snake. The hawk, the symbol of majesty, is beginning its hunt, and an unlucky snake has fallen into the crosshairs. No need for a wind-tearing dive. It chooses to attack head-on, right on the grass, turning its legs into hydraulic pincers, pinning the snake tight to the ground. The battle takes place brutally as the snake twists frantically, using all its muscles to wrap tightly around the bird's legs to find a way to live. However, the hawk still stands as firm as a rock. The legs covered in hard scales like chainmail help it become immune to venomous fangs while wrestling. The hawk's reflex takes only about 20 to 30 milliseconds, 10 times faster than the blinking speed of a human. That makes the snake's attacks seem like they are in slow motion before its eyes, having almost no difficulty in controlling this prey.
He's like, "Can I have some?"
Every peck striking down is a finishing blow to a vital point. The outcome has been decided. After a few beats adjusting its posture, it spreads its wings, soaring up, carrying the meal to a safe place. Cat versus snake. Confrontations in the wild do not always end in death. Sometimes they become a display of pure skills and instincts. Every lightning-fast swat and graceful toying rhythm are accurately calculated, aiming to eliminate all resisting capabilities of the target. Most notable is the moment the cat proactively leans back, lying supine on the ground. This is absolutely not a moment of carelessness or harmless joking, but exactly the most optimal defensive tactic of the feline family. The cat's nonchalance when letting the enemy dangle on its neck or slither across its back does not stem from negligence, but is a testament to complete psychological overwhelm. In this posture, it unleashes its entire natural arsenal, consisting of 4 sets of razor-sharp claws along with strong teeth, establishing an inviolable protective boundary. In the natural world, speed and calmness are always the ultimate keys to mastering every game. A cobra is falling into the encirclement of a domestic cat pride, forced to rear itself in a posture of high vigilance. Instead of running away, the white cat boldly approaches, maintaining a safe distance, but with an extremely challenging attitude. The cobra's venom attacks straight into the nervous system, paralyzing muscle bundles, especially respiratory muscles. The victim can stop breathing in just a few hours if struck. However, the feline family possesses an extremely keen nervous system with a reflex time, taking only about 20 to 70 milliseconds, significantly faster compared to the average striking speed of a snake. Realizing it cannot pierce through the defensive line of the agile enemies, the cobra decides to retreat, slithering quickly down a deep burrow under the dry leaf layer to preserve its life. Cockatoo versus snake. A cockatoo flock leisurely strolls on the green grass carpet. They spend most of their time diligently pecking down at the ground to look for food. The scene seems extremely peaceful and without any threats around. But this peace is extremely short-lived. The brilliantly yellow crests simultaneously stand erect, marking the beginning of a tense confrontation. The warning signal immediately spreads. The yellow crest on the parrot's head stands upright to reach high, intimidating the enemy. One proactively steps forward. It uses its extremely strong hooked beak to snatch the snake's body and toss it into the air. Facing a series of sharp beaks pointing at it at the same time, the snake's ability to focus its attack on one place is almost hopeless. Realizing it's losing position before the tight encirclement, it has to slither quickly out of the territory to keep its life. Snake versus turtle. Many people still mistakenly think turtles are gentle creatures, but in fact, aquatic turtle species are extremely formidable carnivores. The snake seems to be acting resigned in this situation. Snakes are inherently ectothermic animals. If the water temperature is too cold, or it has exhausted its strength after a previous clash, the animal will not have enough energy to resist. Furthermore, with a thick and sturdy shell, as long as the snake makes a move to bite back, the turtle will immediately retract its head inside, making all attacks become meaningless. Once the snake is injured or weakened, it will immediately turn into an extremely easy-to-eat meal for the turtle. Rat snake versus eagle. Slithering slowly across the arid, decaying leaf layer, a rat snake is enjoying a peaceful moment. Unfortunately, the keen vision of the eagle has seen through it all. It swoops down, using its sharp, curved talons to pin the opponent tight in a blink of an eye. The feathers on the eagle's legs are very thick, acting as a cushion, preventing the rat snake's bites from reaching the flesh. The eagle is born to dominate. And exactly as expected. The suffocating squeezing force from the talons and the powerful peck from the hooked beak quickly subdued the prey. Dachshund versus dog. Behind the adorable short legs of the dachshund is an incredible hunting instinct. Their dance of death is a prey-holding skill aimed at breaking the prey's spine in a split second. Bred since the 15th century to hunt badgers in dark burrows, this dog breed possesses rare bravery, ready to confront even dangerous snakes without hesitation. The tug-of-wars between them are not only conflicts, but also a way to establish hierarchy and train coordination, an instinct inherited from wolf ancestors. With just one decisive jerk, the snake's body has been torn in half in the blink of an eye. It is exactly these qualities that help the dachshund become an excellent burrow hunter. Owl versus snake. The owl stands still, its head turning slowly, eyes locked tightly onto the approaching snake. It does not rush to attack, only keeping its distance and continuously adjusting its viewing angle, waiting for the most certain moment to launch a strike. Although the rat snake has no venom, it possesses extremely sensitive heat-sensing organs on its lips, making it able to accurately recognize the prey's distance. Both maintain a balanced stance for most of the time, neither side daring to make a mistake first. Only towards the end, when the distance is shortened too much, do they clash with each other. The snake immediately wraps back. The constriction coil forms almost simultaneously with the pounce, pulling both off the axis of balance. Both the owl and the snake lose control, rolling on the ground in a chaotic mass. Python versus python. A reticulated python is tightly constricting a small prey in its muscular coils, but the appearance of a second one has completely changed the situation. The second python approaches, not to share the meal, but to take the life of its very own kind. Muscular strength is mobilized to the maximum. The prey robber uses its entire body to wrap and press down on the opponent, creating a twisted, chaotic mess of horny scale layers. And the breathing rhythm of the ill-fated python gradually fades away. When hunger prolongs amidst a food-scarce environment, Python species tend to hunt and cannibalize smaller individuals of the same species. When swallowing an individual of the same species, the python's digestive system must process a giant mass of muscles and bones with the exact same structure as itself. To complete this process, the hunter's heart must expand by about 40%, and the liver doubles in size to produce a sufficient amount of decomposing enzymes. You are witnessing the confrontation between two Burmese python individuals, where the boundary between hunter and prey is completely blurred. Instead of using venom, python species rely on extraordinary muscular strength to subdue the target. The subdued one begins to show signs of breathing disruption as the space around its neck and jaws is fiercely compressed. At this stage, the python's strength does not aim to crush the chest, but creates enduring pressure, cutting off the airway and blood circulation to the brain, making the victim quickly pass out due to lack of oxygen. However, this is not necessarily a definitive hunt. When feeling the opponent is neatly within control and no longer has the ability to threaten, the constriction coils are gradually loosened. For young pythons, their bodies are sensitive enough to recognize the opponent's state through every smallest vibration. This clash carries the meaning of a practical combat lesson rather than an elimination, a timely stop for both to continue surviving amidst harsh nature. Saharan horned viper versus mouse.
Desert horned viper.
The Saharan horned viper buries itself to camouflage under the sand, keeping its body absolutely motionless, leaving only its cold eyes probing the surroundings. And the test subject for the extreme toxin today will be this ill-fated mouse.
I should have put it on the other side, but hey.
The mouse just dashes past. The snake immediately springs up in a flash, launching a neat and precise bite right from the first moment of encounter.
Holy shit.
Desert horned viper.
The victim's body begins to convulse violently. The fleeing movements quickly become disjointed and completely out of control.
That's right.
The venom of this viper species contains enzymes that destroy blood vessel walls, causing blood to leak massively into adjacent tissues.
Them that Missouri diet shit, so it's not no cheap.
The hunter is not in a hurry at all. It patiently waits until the prey completely collapses before slithering forward to grab the head.
Bloody eyeball, man.
Under the seemingly silent sand carpet, a primal hunting process has just closed completely.
I'll see you guys later. Peace.
King cobra versus rat snake. Inside the enclosed space, the clash between the two arch-enemies takes place once again. The fatal strike buries the pair of venomous fangs into the body of the rat snake, trying its best to struggle. Despite trying to bite back to resist, the tiny prey's effort is completely hopeless. The extremely strong neurotoxic venom quickly seeps deep, paralyzing the opponent's entire muscular system. When the victim completely loses the ability to resist, the Lord of Snakes begins to carry out its familiar cannibalistic habit. The pressure from the jaws is continuously maintained, aiming to eliminate all final reflexes, blocking all escape chances. The victim's elongated body mass slowly slips deep inside the esophagus, making room for the gradually swelling stomach. Boipiva snake versus Kururu toad. A Boipiva snake is silently moving across the rocky beach. With its excellently camouflaged, dark-colored scales, it seems to be blending into the rocks and soil of southern Brazil. This reptile is one of the few natural predators capable of resisting the deadly venom of amphibian species. The forked tongue continuously collects scent particles in the air. The snake skillfully slithers, following the prey's scent trail left on the ground. A Kururu toad falls into the crosshairs. The Boipiva snake launches an attack. The Kururu toad is famous for its extremely strong bufotoxin venom glands that can kill dogs, cats, and even crocodiles. However, the Boipiva snake has evolved special neural receptors and liver enzymes to completely neutralize this toxin. Chicken versus cobra. The flock of chicks is engrossed in foraging under their mother's supervision, but an uninvited guest has arrived also with the purpose of finding food. Facing venom that can paralyze the nervous system, the mother hen uses her reflex speed as a living shield. The mother hen continuously disrupts the hunter, creating an opportunity for the chicks to escape. Cobras usually launch a strike at a distance equal to 1/3 of their body length. However, the aggression bursting from maternal instinct has completely broken the predator's rhythm. Losing the element of surprise attack and encountering too great a resistance, the snake has to lower its head. It slithers along the edge of the wall to retreat. Thanks to the mother's instinct and bravery, the small flock of chicks continues to survive safely. Queen snake versus crayfish. Under the crystal clear water of the stream, the queen snake is in a risky crayfish hunt. Their pair of pincer claws is a formidable defensive weapon. Meanwhile, the queen snake has one of the weakest bite forces in the snake world. So, its menu is 99% newly molted crayfish. This is exactly the moment the queen snake waits for. The queen snake possesses an extremely keen sense of smell for the types of hormones that crayfish secrete during the molting process. It is like a target detector, leading the snake straight to the shrimp's changing room. Lacking armor, all struggling efforts become useless. A calculated hunt when the hunter clearly knows when the opponent is a grand feast. Mussurana versus rattlesnake. The confrontation between the mussurana and the rattlesnake is one of the matchups seen as having a foregone conclusion in the snake world. Despite being subdued, the rattlesnake still manages to launch a fatal strike. It buries its fangs, pumping venom straight into the enemy's body. To most creatures, this is a death sentence. But the mussurana carries within it a natural immune system against this venom. The deadly bite is now just like a skin scratch. However, the mistake this time comes from choosing to swallow the prey from the tail. This is a taboo for snake hunters. It cannot continue to swallow due to pain, but also cannot spit it out easily because the opponent's teeth have hooked deep into its flesh tissue. But that does not mean both will die together. Heron versus chipmunk. Along the rocky and gravelly lake shore, a giant blue heron is patiently walking, carefully probing every crevice to search for a meal. The first peck was not perfect. The prey managed to dodge in time. It changes to a new position. The hunting machine immediately freezes, accurately measuring every centimeter before striking. The spear-like sharp beak strikes down with lightning speed, clamping tightly onto the body of the hopelessly struggling victim.
At least 25 bird species are known to dip their...
Instead of swallowing immediately, the hunter continuously thrashes the prey in the air, aiming to break its spine and completely neutralize the resistance. It dips the prize into the water. This trick helps lubricate the dry, rough fur, turning the piece of meat slippery and easier to swallow.
That's the circle of life.
The swallowing process takes place in a flash. The commonly seen elegance cannot hide the cruel coldness of the natural survival law.
Not even...
Hawk versus crow. On an empty mound of earth, a hawk is falling into a pincer movement when surrounded from all sides by an aggressive flock of black crows.
But still the question remains.
This is a direct territorial competition, where birds of prey face off to assert dominance without needing the presence of food.
Vigorously advantage of its hawk keeps defending its catfish.
Facing the majority, the hawk immediately performs a threatening behavior by spreading its wings wide and raising its neck feathers to create a giant fake body size. The crow flock is not to be outdone with the squeezing encirclement tactic, a way to test the opponent's patience and look for loopholes. Unflinching, the ruler of the sky launches powerful snaps and wing flaps, forcing the crow flock to keep a safe distance. Despite being surrounded, the bravery of a solitary assassin is still enough to hold the ground before the pressure of the flock. Owl versus pigeon. Inside the artificial nest, a strange cohabitation scene is taking place between young barn owls and a pair of pigeons. This peace is only temporary. The mother barn owl appears bringing a prize. The bloody meal is placed right next to the uninvited guests. Tension begins to escalate. Conflict erupts when the pigeon accidentally approaches the area where the brood is eating, assuming this is a threat to attack or steal food. The mother owl immediately launches a fierce preemptive strike. Powerful wing flaps along with sharp talons consecutively press the pigeon tightly against the box wall in a chaotic melee. Her eyes never leave the pigeon, establishing an absolute boundary of power. The pigeon has to leave. The nest returns to a fragile state of balance, where wariness and survival instinct are always placed on high alert. Eagle versus goshawk. High on the treetop, the mother eagle is carefully inspecting the nest. Beside her are the tiny chicks, covered in snow-white down. She carefully uses her beak to clean the nest space. The scene seems peaceful, but nature always hides unexpected threats. Danger strikes in a flash. An audacious goshawk swoops past, aiming straight at the defenseless chick. The mother eagle spreads her giant wingspan, rushing out to intercept the intruder. But what she did not expect is that the thief circled back and snatched the chick away. The atmosphere is extremely tense. The ruler of the sky now only has the sole hope of life from the last chick. The threat still lurks. The eagle flaps her wings to fly up again to avenge her child, but is once again tricked by that cunning schemer. Stork. In the natural world, survival sometimes comes with the most cruel decisions. At a white stork nest high up, the mother stork is facing a life and death choice among the 4 chicks. There is one individual that appears significantly weaker and smaller compared to the rest of the brood. Instead of comforting, the mother stork uses her long and sharp beak to clamp tightly onto the poor chick. She continuously lifts the disadvantaged child high up and then drops it down into the nest roughly. This is not a caring action, but the beginning of an instinctual natural elimination process. The chick tries to struggle and cling to the dry branches to fight for its life, but the strength of the adult bird is too overwhelming. The mother stork persistently repeats the action. brushing aside the weak resistance to prepare for the final step of this grim screening. When the decision has been made, the mother stork grips the chick tightly, brings it close to the edge of the nest, and coldly drops it to the ground from a height of hundreds of meters. Pigeon versus falcon. In the narrow corner of the nest, the pigeon pair is striving to repel the robber to protect the nest. Although the initial defense effort is successful, the cunning falcon still patiently hovers nearby. The pigeon pair presses closely together, maintaining a highly vigilant posture. They do not take their eyes off the surroundings, trying to maximally shield their nest. When the space gradually quiets down, the sign of danger seems to have receded, creating a false sense of safety. Believing that the threat has truly passed, the pigeon decides to leave, leaving the area completely devoid of protection. Seizing the opportunity, the falcon immediately returns. It lands on the empty nest and heads straight to the target, closing the cold survival strategy of stalking and plundering of the natural world. Tropic bird versus pirate bird. To feed the chick waiting at the nest, the adult tropic bird must take off and reach out to the open sea. However, their biggest challenge is hovering right above their heads. The mighty pirate birds are patrolling the sky. They spot the target and immediately conduct a fierce dogfight. These pirates do not intend to take a life, but use their supreme flying skills to harass and rob the prey. Under terrible pressure, the tropic bird has to release its prey. With an artistic dive, the pirate bird snatches the prize right in midair. This coercion is part of the cruel survival law. While the chicks are still anxiously waiting, the parents must continue to gamble their lives. They try to fly close to the sea surface, continuously changing direction to escape the clutches of the persistent tailors. Despite being surrounded by risks, a few still excellently break through the siege, bringing the precious food source back to the nest safely. Heron versus snake. At the edge of the dense, muddy bank, a white heron is falling into an extremely dangerous situation. A large snake has bitten tight and clung to its wing. The bird moves down into the water, bringing along the creature clinging tightly to its body. To survive, the heron uses its sharp beak to firmly grip the reptile's body, trying to drag the enemy off its body. A silent but tension-filled tug-of-war takes place. The striped snake is extremely stubborn, determined to maintain the deadly bite. The struggle pushes both out to the deep water. The snake's weight causes the bird to lose balance. It flips over, thrashing frantically, its head submerging under the water surface multiple times. The heron's strength is quickly drained before the persistent clinging. The large bloodstain on the snow-white plumage is a cruel testament to the harshness of nature. Eagle versus goat. On the mountain peak, the golden eagle silently observes. The predator's eyes have locked onto the target, a young mountain goat in the herd.
Es preciso ponerse a salvo.
The goat herd hurriedly moves across the cliff, striving to find shelter upon realizing the threat. Swooping straight down the slope, the eagle launches a lightning-fast snatch. The sharp talons grip the young goat tightly, lifting it off the ground. It dives at high speed, using that momentum to borrow inertia to throw the prey into the air in an arc, making carrying the prey away easier. Bear versus deer. Under the sparse forest canopy, the bear accidentally faces a deer herd. That suffocating moment of vigilance lasts for less than a full breath. The bear immediately locks its target onto the tiniest creature. Despite losing in speed, the bear still creates terrifying strides. The fawn panics, loses orientation, and completely falls out of rhythm with the herd. Trying to squeeze through the bushes, the fawn is desperate as branches block the way. The bear swoops in, coldly taking its life with a lightning-fast finishing blow. Under the autumn foliage, the mother deer and her fawn are engrossed in foraging. Suddenly, a strange sound rings out. When the giant silhouette of the bear reveals itself, the mother deer clearly understands the absolute disparity. It accelerates to flee. On the contrary, the fawn presses its body tightly to the ground. But the bear's keen sense of smell broke the camouflage. A decisive pounce extinguishes all hopes. Right in the garden, the energy-thirsty bear individual unexpectedly lunges to attack. A rough roar tears the silence apart. The deer thrashes in panic, but the predator's overwhelming muscle mass has turned all resistance efforts to zero. Under the gnawing pressure of survival, the fragile boundary between wild nature and the urban world is immediately broken in just a blink of an eye. Nature has never been tamed. It only patiently steps back, waiting for the opportunity to rise up to reclaim what inherently belongs to it. Bear versus moose. At the river's edge, the bear silently closes in on the moose mother and calf having their meal. The hunter's eyes are full of calculation, while the naive calf still hasn't imagined the grim reaper lurking right behind. Immediately, the mother moose surges with fury, charging straight at the enemy. Right at that moment, the predatory instinct immediately retreats into a defensive stance. It stumbles backward, the giant muscle mass suddenly outmatched by the terrifying speed and pressure from the mother. However, as an opportunist, the hunter persistently tails the moose mother and calf. a golden opportunity, and the predator is determined not to miss it. Sensing the slightest sound, the mother moose spins around sharply. With just a few stomps and a powerful swing of her head, she forces the bear to warily step back. Blocked for the second time. Hunger still urges it to sullenly tail them all the way to the next area. The battle closes once again. The flame of motherhood has completely triumphed over the bloodthirsty instinct. The Alaskan waters churn violently as the bear begins its hunting sequence. The moose individual swimming across is completely passive before the lightning-fast ambush acceleration of the enemy. Despite efforts to swing its antlers, the bear's giant body from behind immediately breaks its center of gravity and quickly drains the stamina of the moose individual underwater. Controlling the target, the bear delivers a fatal bite, taking its life. The river surface becomes quiet again. In nature, a minimum defensive loophole is always directly converted into a source of survival energy. Bear versus bison. In an empty lot near a residential area, a solitary bison individual is exhausted. Behind, the bear continuously bites and tears at the spinal area, aiming to completely eliminate the prey's mobility. Drained of its last fading strength, the bison spins around to show dominance, hoping to open a retreat path, but hopelessly. The severe physical injuries have completely stripped away the counterattack ability of this muscle mass. Fangs and claws sinking deeper, the bear herds the opponent down into the riverbed. The water's resistance immediately cancels out the bison's acceleration, creating an absolute advantage for a highly pragmatic underwater predator. Bear versus elk. From the bushes, the bear launches an ambush, its giant weight crashing down, shaking the ground. The elk herd ahead halts and looks back. Upon identifying the predator as a giant bear, all intentions to intervene are immediately extinguished before this absolute power. Bravery is completely meaningless. The bear drags the prize to a more secluded and safe area to begin consuming this meal. In the old forest, the privilege of survival belongs only to those who deliver the most decisive blows. The icy river becomes a harsh survival boundary. The bear closes in on the elk individual, struggling to part the water. The rapid breathing and splashing foam immediately tear the silence apart. The bear uses its massive body to press down, breaking the center of gravity, making the opponent exhausted. The mechanical impulse from the elk's kick is very large, but is immediately completely canceled out by the water's resistance. In the deciding phase, the bear submerges the target, a pragmatic and ruthless outcome of the ecological law. Bear versus human. On the familiar trail, the cyclist suddenly feels a chill down his spine at the sound of dry branches snapping rapidly right behind his back. A giant bear is rushing forward out of hunger. He pedals desperately across the narrow strip of land, every breath choking. Grizzly bears can maintain a speed of 50 kilometers per hour for many kilometers in the dense forest. realizing the absolute physical disadvantage. The human is forced to use his mind to survive. Bear versus wolf. Amidst the snow carpet, the wolf pack attempts to lay siege to the bear. They probe for loopholes, but that giant physique is a perfect biological defense barrier. The bear's dense muscle system forms a natural armor layer. This structure both amplifies physical impulses and maximizes the injury tolerance threshold. The bear completely overwhelms the situation. A few powerful arm swings immediately collapse the wolf pack's tactical formation. Aware of the risks, the wolf pack proactively disperses. The situation closes in favor of the solitary predator. Bear versus wild boar. Deep in the forest, the bear ambushes a male wild boar. The sharp claws immediately pierce through the keratinized skin layer, directly creating a series of physical injuries. The target counterattacks with sharp tusks, but the bear easily dodges, then decisively crushes the carotid artery. The 7-centimeter thick fat structure of the wild boar is normally an effective biological shield against wolf or leopard fangs. However, this barrier is completely ineffective against the 1,200 psi bite pressure from the bear. The bear lifts the prey high up. Being vigilant while eating prey is a characteristic ecological behavior of this species. On the roadside slope, a massive bear is using overwhelming strength to control a wild boar. Despite the desperate thrashing, the bear's jaws and weight have locked the opponent tight. The predator continuously bites and drags the prey.
He's just about got it where he can drag it.
The resistance gradually weakens. The black bear completely dominates, pinning the wild boar down into the muddy water ditch.
Pig is almost done.
After the tense tug of war, the bear pants and cautiously observes. It wants to drag the wild boar into a secluded corner to eat. But this slope is the biggest difficulty. Weighing the risks against the meal, it is forced to abandon the prey. Bear versus mountain goat. On the steep mountainside, a bear is carefully probing every step downwards. Right below the cliff, the mother mountain goat and her young child are clinging to a narrow rock ledge. The mother goat continuously looks up, full of vigilance. The bear continues to inch bit by bit on the loose surface towards the prey. However, the goat flock has chosen a very wise defensive position. They stand motionless on the perilous rock ledge, turning the cliff into a solid natural shield. The predator tries to find a way to approach, but its giant weight is a major disadvantage on the slippery terrain. The brown bear struggles to hold on so as not to slip and fall off the slope. Realizing the risk is too high and the cliff is impassable, the brown bear decides to give up. What you have just watched shows that in the world of venomous snakes, the battle for survival does not only take place between predator and prey. In the land of reptiles, just a single moment of gaining the advantage can decide the entire outcome. And that is what has created the most gruesome scenes ever recorded in nature. If you found this video fascinating, please hit like, leave a comment, sharing your thoughts, and subscribe to the channel to continue exploring many more thrilling wildlife moments. Thank you for watching to the end. See you in the next video.